I taught you a word in Arabic. Could you remember it?
You've told me many. Tell me which one you're talking about. But remember, I understand some Arabic, so be careful what you say.
Yeah, where am I from?
Just a minute, I want to record this moment, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now we are live on YouTube. Also, it's recorded.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
The governor, Dr. Ray, where I am from.
Oh, do you mean Minufia?
Yeah. I am from Monofia.
Okay, so Ahmed, let me ask you, how many words have I taught you the pronunciation?
No words.
Phrases, phrases and sentences, not only words.
Okay, we are now 66 participants here, 67, 68. Okay, I'm going to.
Because, Mr. Ahmed, we entered very late. So I think people are joining right now.
Okay, you can share the PowerPoint
Yes.
right now.
Okay, so let me share my PowerPoint. Can you work on admitting people?
Yeah, I'll do. And let me break the ice with you until we start. Yeah, yes, yes,
Mr.
Miss
Ahmed,
Summer.
can you hear me? Okay, is it clear?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I just want to tell my friends, my teachers, to think what we are going to talk about today. Think of the chat box and write in the chat box. What do you think we are going to talk about? According to a teacher, someone says hello to you. Okay. What do you think we are going to talk about today with Dr. Ray, one of the top educators?
Let me say, expert in education, so that you understand more.
Yeah, an expert, yes. Okay, how to give a fabulous session, maybe. How to teach, that's great, from Muhammad Rushdie. Amira, how are you? How to be a qualified teacher, yes. Any other suggestion?
Teaching methods.
Teaching methods, great. Okay, we are going to talk about how to teach skills online. Yeah, how to teach online. New strategies, yeah, and techniques in teaching, maybe about using technology, new methods. Gamification, that's fine, from Sarah Ahmed. Yeah, that's great. Okay, we are going to talk about something that's important to every teacher. Okay, I'll not tell you until Miss Summer is gonna introduce herself and introduce Dr. Ray. Okay, go ahead, Miss Summer. If you have a question while we are asking, you just write it in the chat box. And whenever I see the question, I'll pass it to Dr. Ray. Okay. So if you have any question in mind, just have a pen and a paper. You will hear, I think, many fruitful information, much fruitful information. Okay. So stay tuned. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Summer.
Yes, so today, inshallah, we are going to start our course, Qualified Teacher course. And I want to thank you that you accepted our invitation to be with us today. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Samar Samin Najjar. I'm a teacher of English. I'm a specialized trainer. I have a diploma in behavior modification and counseling. I'm the director of Artiqa International Academy. I'm a trainer in education, technology, creativity, and self-development. Also, I can describe myself as a researcher in thinking skills. Inshallah, Dr. Ray will talk about some important topics you need as a teacher. And Dr. Ray he has been a professional educator for many years. He has been a director for the Department of Education in the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, where he helped regulate schools in the US. Dr. Ray has been an administrator for accrediting international schools for over 20 years. The presenter today will be Mr. Ahmed Tantawi. He completed his Bachelor of Arts and Education in Manafia University, and he is a teacher of English in a public school. I think you are in Azhar?
Yeah.
Yes, he is a specialized tutor in teaching grades from 1 to 12. Um, today's session is going to be about CVs, job interviews and good impression, improving English skills, the best teacher qualities, and the class management. Today is like a starter to our course, and Mr. Ahmed is going to introduce some questions with Dr. Ray. I'm happy to meet you, Dr. Ray, today. It's my pleasure.
It's my honor to host you, Dr. Ray. It's my honor. I insist on saying that again and again. I've talked to you a lot, and uh, uh, I know you are one of the best educators. My teachers, I think, will benefit a lot from this interview with you. Okay, we are gonna talk about CVs, how to prepare and write a good CV. Okay, when you are applying for an international school, then how to ace and do well in a job interview and have a good impression for your interviewee, for your interviewer. Sorry. Ms. Summer, you can manage the participants who are going to enter the Zoom, okay? Then
Okay,
how to
go ahead.
improve how to improve our English skills, what are the best teacher qualities, and we will go through some talk about class management. Okay. You have the question, Ms. Summer, here, or shall
No,
I?
you can start now.
I'll share my, okay, let me share.
Okay, I will stop my screen.
Can you see it right now? Is that clear for all of you? I don't think where the chat box went. I can't see my chat box here.
I'm
Yes,
following.
yes, they are
I'm
saying
following
that
the
it's
chat
clear.
box. No worries.
Okay, never mind.
Dahlia is asking to maximize it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yes. Control A, then font, make it. Yes, make it 16, 20, 22. Is it right? Is it clear? Or make it more bigger?
For me, it's clear.
I think
This
that's
you
good.
can make it. You can make it 32.
I think that's good. Okay. The first question for you, Dr. Ray. If I am going to apply for any school, I should prepare well my CV. Yes. The first question, how do I write an effective resume or CV? Okay.
Okay.
We are listening, Dr. Ray.
Right. Well, first of all, hello, everybody. This is really interesting. I see some names I recognize. So I probably met some of you in your school. And for those names I recognize, one of my biggest problems is only one of me, and there are 3,000 or 4,000 of you. So it's harder for me to remember individuals. So thank you. I'm coming to you from my office in Denver, Colorado. For those of you who don't know, Denver or Colorado is towards the middle of the United States. And right now I'm looking outside my office, and the weather is very clear and nice, and kind of a beautiful day here today, not as warm as it is for you. So thank you for being part of this today. I'll try to be as explicit or as clear as I can be. And if there is something that you don't understand, or if you need me to explain further, please feel free to write that in the chat box. And as Ahmed said, he will try to field those questions to me. First question has to deal, and by the way, this document will be available to all of you, so you can take notes on this and maybe use it as a reminder later on. So the first question is, how do I write an effective resume or a CV? We call them both. And by the way, Ahmed, I don't know if you can do it. One of the questions was, can you make the whole page larger rather than the font?
I'm trying, but if you know how to do it, any suggestion, if you could write in the chat box how to maximize the page.
Okay, so let's go on. First of all, please know this, that the resume that you submit is the first impression that that potential employer will have of you. Usually they will see the resume before they even meet you as a person, before they see who you are or whatever. So it's really important that this be done properly. I've heard of people who've done hiring and they'll get hundreds of resumes for one job. And so they're looking for some resume that sticks out, that says, wow, this is something really special. First suggestion, keep it short and to the point. Don't feel you have to list everything in your resume. You want to attract their attention. So what can you do? Well, first of all, if the employer is looking at several resumes, that employer is not going to be looking through page after page after page where you talk about your favorite animals and what you like to eat for dinner. And, you know, I'm joking here, but keep it short and to the point. Generally, your resume or CV, when you're applying for a job, should not be more than one page. And it should be, as I said, just hitting the highlights. Secondly, I suggest target the resume or aim your resume to the specific job you are seeking. In other words, don't write a generic or a general resume that would apply for any job. If you're applying for a job as a biology teacher, your resume should specifically address what are the requirements and what qualifications you have to be a biology teacher. If you're trying to get a job in the secondary school, don't emphasize all of your experience in the elementary school. Doesn't mean you're not going to talk about it later, but emphasize what that employer is looking for. Target it to the specific job. Next suggestion is prioritize or put in priority order those skills and qualifications for each job you try to find. Okay, so let's take a job that you're looking for a job as an English teacher. Prioritize those skills and qualifications for each job you want to find. So you should put at high priority that experience that you have or training that you have as an English teacher. Now, yesterday when Mr. Ahmed and I were planning on this, I said, well, for instance, if you worked at McDonald's flipping burgers, that probably doesn't qualify for a job as an English teacher unless you can say that one thing I learned at working at McDonald's was how to treat customers, how to be very generous to people, how to smile. And, if you want to do something like that, tie McDonald's to what a teacher should be doing. But I wouldn't suggest you do that. But if you feel that's really important, tie it to something. Don't just say, I worked at McDonald's. That doesn't really mean anything. So prioritize your skills to the qualifications for the job. The next item is don't feel that you have to include every job in your resume. Concentrate on the last few years and specifically those that would help qualify you for the job you are seeking. If I talked about every job I've had in my life, I would talk about the very first job I had, and I worked for a man who put wire works together, and he made cages and so forth. Hey, that doesn't really apply to anything. There's no way I can really apply that. So, and besides, that was a long time ago, and I forget everything that I learned there. But don't include everything. If you're going to keep this to one page, hit the most important points that are important for this particular job. Now, the next one, item E, is try to develop a unique value statement that would be at the top of the resume. It should try to describe what value you would bring to a job. Yesterday, when Ahmed and I were talking, I told him, if I were typing my resume now, looking for a job, at the very top, before I put anything else, I would put this statement, and you have to listen to it carefully because it might not be understandable. But here's the statement I would put for me. I seek through my life to make my part of the world better than I found it. Think about that. I try in my life to make my part of the world better than I found it. That's a value.
Yes, Dr. Ray. Okay. Some teachers doesn't know about what is a value statement. Could you elaborate on this, please?
Well, a value is how you see yourself as a person. A good value statement for teachers might be, I want to be able to inspire students to learn. That's a value statement. That's a value that you put in your job. Inspire students to learn.
Yeah, I should write it at the top of my CV.
Was somewhere in a very prominent position. You might put your name and all that general information, your email address, and then before you start listing all of the other things, your experience, your training, so forth, you might put this. My main goal is to inspire students to learn. That's a value statement. It's a value you put on your job. So I encourage you to think about what that would be for you.
Yeah. But it does match his traits, the teacher's traits.
Exactly.
Doesn't take any value statement from a Google search, for example, and stick it on the resume.
It ought to come from your heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Here's what makes me operate. I want to help students learn. That's what helps me operate. Can you understand if you had somebody applying for a job and you were the one doing the interviewing and perhaps the decision to hire somebody, how impressed would you be if somebody said, one of my main goals is to help students to learn? That tells me a lot about you as a person. So if you don't have one, don't worry about it. But I'm just saying, try something unique about you. And you're right, you don't find it on the internet. You don't do a Google search. You have to say what makes you tick. I use an example that I sometimes use in speeches. It was in a book that was written many years ago. And a man came back from after serving in the war, and he was applying for a job. And one of the questions on the job interview was this. He needed to complete this statement. The most important thing about me is, and he was actually asked that question. The most important thing about me is. So you need to think about that. What is in your profession? What's the most important? It doesn't say what degree you had. It doesn't say what schools you worked at or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's how you value yourself as a person. Because when I'm hiring, I want to look at people who really have something deep down inside of them that makes them operate. So that's why I think that's important. If you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. But I'm just saying it strengthens your resume.
Yeah, yeah,
The
that's
next
fine.
thing I, the next thing I will say is be sure to match your experience and training to the unique job you are seeking. Read the job description carefully and be sure to emphasize each point that qualifies for the specific job. Maybe the job description says, I want somebody who has a bachelor's degree in English. You put beside that, I have a bachelor's degree from Menifee University. I said that right off. I have a bachelor's. See, if they say they want a bachelor, you put beside, I have a bachelor's degree. I want somebody with 5 years experience. You can put beside that, here's my 5 years of experience. I want somebody who is able to teach young children as well as older children. Here's my experience in teaching. So match each part of the job description to your resume. That tells the employer, really, this person is interested in this job. Then the next thing I
Yes.
suggest is don't use buzzwords or don't use cliches like I'm a real eager beaver person, or I'm a real go-getter, I'm a team player, I am a go-to person, I'm a person who just works harder than anybody else. Those are generally cliches. If you do work harder than anybody else, that's going to show. You don't need to describe there. If you're a team player, that's going to show. You don't need to say that you're a team player, because those are just, for instance, I really appreciate that both Ahmed and Samar said one of the greatest educators in the United States. I don't think I am. If you think I am, that's your opinion, and I'm happy to accept that. But I'm not going to say in my resume, I'm one of the greatest educators in the United States. I can tell you I have a lot of experience, and I've had a lot of good things happen to me and for me and so forth. But I can't say I'm the greatest educator. So you can't say that either. I was the head, or I was the best teacher in the English department. If you were, your job descriptions or your job ratings will show that, and let the interviewer decide. So again, don't say things that you just feel about yourself unless you can say. If you have that, fine, go ahead and say it. I received the award from the school as the highest rated English teacher in the school. If that's really something that happened to you, go ahead and put it in, because you can defend that. You didn't say it, the school said it. So be careful about buzzwords. Now, the next point is really controversial, but I suggest to you, remember that your social media profile is reviewed and sometimes monitored by the potential employer. Make sure it is not something that would be used against you. Now, right now, at least here in the United States, there's a lot of, social media. You talk about Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, all of these, and they're very, very familiar. A good employer who's really looking for the best candidate, once that employer gets your name, is going to look you up on social media. And I have seen some things. In fact, I have, LinkedIn is another one. Thanks, Amira. There are all kinds of them. But you can say things. For instance, in the United States right now, we have a real split between different political views. And I actually once was considering a person to be an accreditor who would come with me to one of the countries that I work in. And I looked at his social media profile. He had many, many, many one-sided political statements on his profile. And I told him, if you want to work in international schools, get those off of your social media. Because what would you do if you're going to look up this person who's going to be on your accreditation team and you have a different political opinion than he or she does? You're going to want to say, hey, I'm not sure I trust that person's judgment. So I'm saying, please be very careful what you put on social media, That's extremely important. And if you have it now, Ahmed and I were talking yesterday about this current issue that's going on between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I would be very careful about putting an opinion about that on social media. Doesn't mean you don't have an opinion, but it means, what if you're doing an interview with somebody who has the opposite viewpoint that you do about that issue? So I say be very, very careful. So those are some general examples. But the last item is check, check, check for errors. Get somebody else to read it. Get somebody else who understands the English language or whatever language you're writing. Make sure that you don't, because if you're applying for a job as an English teacher and you have spelling errors or grammatical errors in your resume, I'm going to discount you immediately. But you can check on that. So one page, keep it brief, keep it pointed, and make sure that you really say what it is that you have that qualifies you for that job. I'm going to stop at that point, and I'll answer any. Ahmed, do you have any specific questions that came up that I need to respond to?
Ms. Summer, do you have any question? I can't see any question in this chat box.
No,
Summarizing
no, no.
that.
No, until now, I
Okay.
don't have a question.
Okay.
But if you want to summarize what you talked about, it will be better.
You want me to
I think there is no need to summarize. It's recorded, and many participants here can go and listen to the recording again. Everything I think is clear from Dr. Ray. Okay, Dr. Ray, let's go to number 2. How do I prepare for the job interview and make a good impression? Okay, yes.
Okay, so here is going to be an extension of the resume or the CV. Here's an extension of that. Now, this is the first time somebody's going to see you as a person. So first suggestion I make is research all you can about the school where you're going to be interviewing. Find out everything you can before you interview. They probably have a web page. Read their web page and really know what they say on their web page. Carefully go through all of it. In your interview, you might actually bring up a question like this. I was reading your web page and I noticed that you have this particular program, even though it's not the particular program you're applying for. That's going to impress your interviewer that you did some research. And if you know something about the interviewer, find out what you can. Find out what you can so that you are prepared and you feel very comfortable dealing with that person. For instance, most of you, at least by the time of this session is over, you will know something about me. Well, you probably already can guess some of the things that I would be looking for. I would be looking for somebody who has heart. I would be looking for somebody who has good English and good spelling. I would be looking for somebody who understands students. And we're going to about that in a little bit. So if you interview with me, you know that's the thing you want to emphasize. So you're going to emphasize that because you know something about me. Then B, when you're asked to tell about yourself, be ready to describe your current situation. Hit only the key points in your professional journey and connect your background, guess what, to the job you are seeking. Again, working at McDonald's, unless you can say, this taught me a lot about customer relations and I've applied this to students, don't mention it unless you can really apply that. I noticed that you're looking for somebody who will help you develop a curriculum in grade 9 English. Well, here's my experience in developing curriculum. And so connect your background, interests, and qualifications to the specific job you are seeking. What I'm saying is, don't just be general about what you've done in your life, and unless you can connect it to that job. So there's a cause and effect here. The cause is the job description. The effect is what you've done to meet the qualifications of that job. The next one is,
before you go to C, Dr. Ray, let me ask the attendees, is everything clear? Do you understand what is Dr. Ray talking about? Or is it something not clear? You can write in the chat box. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's really fine. Okay, go ahead, Dr. A.
Uh,
Yeah.
Find a friend. Find a friend. C. Somebody you
See
know.
where, okay, let me highlight C, yeah.
Recruit a friend to practice answering questions, and tell your friend to ask very difficult questions if you must. Don't say, well, how are you today? You know, it's so nice to see you.
That point, please, Dr. A, to prepare before the interview to ask someone to make a
Yes,
demo with him, like
exactly. Exactly.
like an actual interview. Yeah.
Yes. Like an actual interview. Have somebody practice. It'll do two things. It might come up, for instance, I'm going to tell you right now that at the end
Sorry,
of the
my battery is gonna over. Oh, I forgot. Okay, go ahead.
right now, at the end of this, when I'm through, Tamer
Yeah.
Ahmed
Yes.
is going to ask me some questions. He hasn't told me what the questions are. So I'm going to be just as surprised. So you need to find a friend who will be very fair to you, somebody you trust, and practice answering questions. Have the friend ask you questions and give the response. Pretend like it's a real interview. It'll do two things. Number one, it'll prepare you for the unexpected, and number two, it should calm you down a little bit. Interviews can be really scary things, and so you need to have somebody practice with you to help you get prepared.
Yeah, this, okay, that's fine. D, I think.
Take a list of references with you. Sometimes on a resume, people want to list their references.
Could you tell us what reference means? Some
A
teacher, I
reference is
think.
a person,
Yeah.
you call this person to get a recommendation about me. You can call this person or write to this person. And I would suggest you not put these names on your resume, but you have them with you when you go to the interview. But I was really sneaky when I was hiring teachers. For instance, who of us would write the name of a person who we think will give us a bad recommendation? We're not going to do that. Anybody you write probably going to give you a recommendation. What I would do is I would look at the references. If somebody gave me the name of a person who taught at a particular school, I would find some kind of connection that I knew at somebody else at that school or somebody else at the who knows this person who wasn't on there. But you still should give a list of references because, as I said, none of us would be listing people who we don't think would give us a record. But you have a list of references ready for you and have them all typed out and hand it to your interviewer before you leave.
You mean the references don't have to be on the same resume?
I would
Just
recommend
separate.
they not be, but I would put a statement like this: references available upon request.
Yeah, yeah, great.
Because number one, if
Okay.
you're going to keep it really short to a page, if you can,
Yes,
you're
yes.
not going to have room for all that. But if you put the statement references available upon request,
Just a hint for him.
yes, and give them to your interviewer.
Yeah. E, I think we've come to
Okay, be
E.
prepared with examples of your work. If you develop the ninth grade English curriculum, have it with you. Say, here's something that I was responsible for developing. Or maybe an example of a class project that you did. Here's an example of what I gave my students as a project to learn more about that. So just be prepared if asked that you can have that. It doesn't hurt to have more information than the interviewer asks for, but it does help to have you, have something available. Why reference is not
No,
preferable?
I'm just answering someone who wrote in the chat box that it's not preferable to do so. I'll take his point of view at the end of the our conversation.
Well,
Okay.
it's a matter of space and the amount of documentation or the amount of paperwork you put on your resume. If you want a 10-page resume, you can put a 10-page resume, but it probably won't be read. I'm just suggesting that a statement, references available upon request, does the same thing. And then if they want them, they'll ask for them.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, then F, be
Be
prepared to ask
prepared to ask
questions.
questions of your interviewer, such as, and by the way, a lot of times when you're applying for a job, the questions you ask me as the person who might be doing the hiring, the questions you ask me tell me a lot about you. If you're going to ask little details like, when do I get a vacation? When can I have a raise? If I leave before the end of the day, what happens to me? Those aren't the, but ask questions where the interviewer has to think, what are you looking for in a person who will be successful in this job? What's your ideal teacher look like? That's a great question to ask. If I'm hired for this job, how will my performance be measured or evaluated? What teacher evaluation system do you have? That's a great question. These are just some examples. And then how well do the teachers at this school work together? That
And
tells you.
which chair I will be seated on.
Yeah, well, I was telling Ahmed
Yesterday, yeah.
statement yesterday. I told him I was interviewing once when I was high school principal, and I was interviewing for a person who would be my lead secretary, who would be my personal secretary. And I already knew that it probably wasn't going to, but at the end of her interview, she says, what kind of a chair will I be sitting in?
A very professional question.
Yeah, so be prepared to ask some really professional questions.
Okay. I think be prepared anytime, whether it is an interview or with someone important. You have to make the most of your time.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
G, plan what you're going to wear, your attire the night before. Be sure you look professional and your clothing is clean.
Attire means clothes, yeah.
The attire means clothes. Be sure, by the way, some of these words are very common to me, but in talking with people whose native language is not English, sometimes I'll put a word that means something to me. But your clothes, make sure you plan. Make sure that you don't have marks or splotches on your clothes. Keep yourself as neat and clean as much as possible.
Shine your shoes, check for
Shine your
holes.
shoes, right? You want to make a very good impression. I interviewed a person who wanted to be at my teacher at my school, and when he came down, his clothes looked all right, but he sat in the chair like this. If you can see me, he sat in the chair like this and thinking, oh my, how am I going to get through this? I'm a good teacher. This guy will see it. But he just looks sloppy to me. So smile, be at your very best, because that impression will stick with your interviewer. And if the interviewer is looking at several people for a job, he's going to remember, hey, this person really looks sharp. Gentlemen, as much as you might not like it, wear at least a tie and a nice dress shirt. Ladies, wear the nicest burqa or whatever that you have. It doesn't have to be really fancy, but it needs to be clean and well groomed and presentable. I sometimes, because I've been in the Middle East so many times, I see ladies who are wearing burqas and they look very nice. And then when I see their feet, they're wearing flip-flops or tennis shoes, gym shoes or whatever. And to me, that doesn't fit with the dressier look. And so think about that. Display a confident attitude, body language throughout your report. Always be sitting here, eager to learn, eager to listen. Smile. Smile.
And this in the interview only, or just after being accepted in the school? After being accepted, are you wearing anything?
Well, I hope you don't revert to the person who's gripey all the time after you're hired, but if it's really coming from the heart, it's going to be natural.
Yes. Okay, for H.
Okay, bring copies of your resume, even though hopefully that person already has it. Bring copies in case they want another one, and a small notebook and a pen. Now, I'm going to tell a story about Ahmed here. Ahmed and I have talked with each other many times, and he always wants me to correct his pronunciation or his word usage. And that's why we were joking about the word Menofia, because I've been to Menofia, but I always said Menufia. And he stopped me and he said, no, it's Menofia. I wrote that down. And so he does this all the time with me. I always see him writing. For instance, the other day we were talking about the word text, T-E-X-T, the text of a book. He said texted. And I said, no, no, no. You don't say texted. You say text. And so he writes it down. And I'm very proud of him because he wants to learn. So if an interviewer is saying, something, even if you think it might not be used later, jot it down. Don't spend all your time writing, but if an interviewee sees you jot something down or write something down, that means that you're interested and you really heard what was said. And the next one, be careful to only answer the questions you're asked. Don't try to bring in any information that is not asked. For instance, if somebody asks you a question about your experience as an English teacher, don't say, oh, by the way, also, I used to work at McDonald's, and I keep using McDonald's, but I used to work at McDonald's, and I had the funniest situation happen to me one time. Don't go off, we call that going into the weeds. Into the weeds is rather than the grass. You're getting into stuff that really doesn't matter. Keep your answers concise and focused and pleasant. And the last one is a caution to you. Do not speak negatively about your previous job or your employers. Don't say, I'm looking for a new job, because I can't tell you how bad the atmosphere was at the school I just left. The students were disrespectful. The parents didn't respect teachers. The administrator didn't help me. That's not going to help you at all. And even if the employer says something like this, hey, I understand that at the school where you are now, or in the job you have now, that the administrator was really not a very good person and he didn't respect teachers and so forth. Don't answer affirmatively. You answer this way. Say, well, I want you to know that I worked my very hardest to be the very best teacher. In other words, divert the question. Don't speak negatively about any previous job or employers. If the interviewer wants to know that, he or she will find it out. You don't need to tell them, and it's a reflection on you if you come across as negative. So
let me say, Dr. Ian, that this may be a tricky question from your interviewer to see how you will react according to your best experience.
Yes, exactly. Because so I say, don't fall for that trap. Don't speak negatively.
Okay, let's move to how do I improve my English language skills? This is a very important question for all teachers, especially whether they are beginners or experienced teachers or want to go to a higher level. Okay, especially fluency. All of us lack fluency. We want to work on our fluency. Yeah.
And so, the 4 or 5 suggestions that I have here. Number one of the best ways you can learn is to watch movies and television in English. We talked earlier with Samar and Ahmed about British English as opposed to American English. The pronunciation is a little bit different for some of the words in British English than it is in American English. But no matter what, if you will just watch movies, and here's your excuse to sit beside the television all the time, if you want to, watch how they're spoken in English. And that will help you. Try to get English newspapers or books or whatever and read those in English so that you can see how words are written, how sentences are put together.
Yes.
Immerse yourself in the English language. Have conversations with others in English only. I've been in classes in your part of the world where there have been times the teacher is teaching in English, but there are times a student will have to raise a hand and say, I don't understand. Could you give me an Arabic word that matches that? And I think it's appropriate for the teacher to say, well, the Arabic word is this, but the English word for that is this. So you're only quickly answering a question. I was in a school once where they played a little game, and everybody in the hallway, in classrooms, on the playground, at lunchtime was told to speak English. And for every time that another person found somebody not speaking in English, they had to put a coin in the jar, meaning it was kind of a game. But at the end of the year, they used all these coins and they had a big party. But it made the emphasis in English. And so if you really want to learn to speak English well, practice with other people and listen to what they say. If you can find somebody who speaks, whose native language is English, maybe from the United States, talk with this person a lot. One time, Ahmed read a passage to me out of a book. And he said, would you correct any words that you hear me say wrong? And so that gave us an opportunity. He read straight out of an English text. And so we were able, just immerse, that means dive into it. It's like immerse means like jumping in the water. Jump into it. Don't try to ignore it. Because if you're going to be an English teacher, that school is going to depend on you teaching proper English to the students. And finally,
for this point, please, I want many teachers to have the initiative to do something like, for example, creating WhatsApp group, creating a community of teachers to talk about. And those teachers must help each other to practice and have organized the time to talk to each other, just to go ahead and practice the language. Okay, yeah.
Well, and you know, if that's really important. For instance, let's pretend you have a group like
speaking practice, yeah, speaking practice.
But let's just pretend you have a group like that. And the other day when I was talking with Ahmed, he said, I learned this when I was in college. And I said, no, Ahmed, you don't put the ED sound on learned, it's learned. Well, there might be in your group people who already know that, so you can correct each other. And another word that we've talked about, I think I said, was text. He said, the text had said. I said, no, the text said. So I do also know that in pronunciation that people whose native language is Arabic have trouble with the TH sound and the, this, that, because it tends to be das, dis, that, duh, because that's hard. That's hard for you. And it just takes practice. For me, it's the k sound in Ahmed. I'm trying to be better. I worked on this for 20, 25 years. And I think I'm doing better, Ahmed, on your name. It's not Ahmed and it's not Ahmed. It's Ahmed, you know, so, but you have to practice those. So the last thing is practice, 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 practice.
And for this point, Dr. Ray, let me say that many teachers بيأكدوا يعني okay, ensure, yes, ensure just the pronunciation first. No, I think the pronunciation will come second. Just try to talk, even if you make a lot of mistakes in pronunciation. Time by time, the pronunciation will go well. Okay, so many teachers or we have many advertisements. It says I'm gonna talk you an American accent, a British accent, and so on. I think it doesn't work. You have to practice saying, even if you make mistakes, then your pronunciation will come true and will be appropriate. Okay, sorry for interrupting you. Okay, then Dr. A. Okay.
Yeah, it is practice, practice, practice. And Ahmed has just been saying that also. You're not going to do better until you use it. Somebody just wrote a comment, the name was in Arabic, so I couldn't read it. But the best way to learn something is to teach it.
Abdurrahman.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Okay.
And practice
Last,
makes perfect.
last
Okay.
question.
Okay. How can I be the best teacher?
Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Ahmed, before we go to this question here, what about our intonation in the class?
Intonation, is that Samer?
Stress and intonation. You mean that?
Well, are you talking about pronunciation?
You mean pronunciation, Ms. Summer?
Someone here is asking, what about our intonation stress in the class?
Yes, it means intonation.
I think she means I think she means linking when you link the words together. It's different from when you say, like when I say how are you, or I say how are you, like this. I think she means like this.
Okay, to me, that's not a big deal. I mean, that's not a really important thing to worry about because that will become your style. That's who you are as a person. And the best example that I have is one that I heard a long time ago. And the sentence is this: I did not say he stole the money. So you can say that several ways. I did not say he stole the money. Then the question is, who did say it? Or I did not say he stole the money. Well, then how did you communicate that message? Or you could say, I did not say he stole the money. Well, who are you saying stole it? And then I did not say he stole the money. Well, then what did he take? So the intonation, the stress that you put on words is important. Again, that comes with practice. Again, listening to English language films, television programs, etc., will help you with that. But that's not the most important thing to worry about, I will tell you this.
Yes, great. For anyone who is willing to improve his accent and acquire fluency, is this a free chat service? Please send a message on WhatsApp group. Okay, I think that advertisement.
Is that really?
Okay,
not necessarily.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you want to join, it's okay. We all help each other. Okay, for number 4, yes. How can I be the best teacher? Yeah.
Now, this is a whole course in itself, and I know you're going to have a series of seminars or webinars like this, but let me give you the first and most important point of being a good teacher. The number one problem in the classroom is not discipline.
Yeah.
It is the lack of procedures and routines. And here is a very real experience that I had. I was asked by a school administrator when I came to their school, the teachers had said, we need a seminar or a class on how to discipline students. And I will tell you this, students are not the problem. Teachers are the problem. So this was 2 days for 2 hours after school. And they were all planned. And so before the first day, before the teachers came into class, I had the rules of the class all printed up here. You know, you raise your hand if you want to speak, if you want to go to the restroom, if you want to ask a question, you do this way. If you have a miss, and I gave all of these rules of the class, and they were all printed on the top, on the sides of the board. Okay. In the middle of the board, I had this written very clearly. Teachers, before the seminar begins today, please write a short paragraph about what you did last summer when you were not in school. It was written right in the middle of the board. Okay. So, you know, I'm greeting everybody and I'm just saying hello and how are you? Some of them I had met before and some of them I hadn't. And so we're getting ready to start the class. And so I point to this on the board and I say, how many have you done what I asked you to do here? And almost to a person says, oh, you mean us? You mean you want us? And I said, well, doesn't it say teachers before the class begins today? Write a short paragraph on what you did last summer when you weren't teaching in school. Oh, I didn't know you meant us. And I said, that's the first lesson you have to learn. We have to tell students what's expected of them. So the next day, so I went through the whole 2 hours that day with a whole bunch of things. The next day, on purpose, I was not there when the class began. I was hiding in the administrator's office, but I had written on the board, teachers, before class begins today, what is the most challenging thing you have about being a teacher? It's written right on the front of the board. I walked in 15 minutes late and every single teacher was writing an answer to that question. And I stood at the back of the class and I clapped my hands and I said, congratulations, teachers. If you can do this, you bet students can do this, because students follow directions much more clearly if they know what is expected of them. So what I'm saying is this, and after one day, when these teachers, oh, I didn't know this was for us, then they came into class, and I heard later that one of the teachers even said, oh, Dr. Ray wrote an assignment on the board, we better get busy. One teacher telling another. So they were prepared. So I say, I cannot emphasize clearly enough, you need to really understand what are the procedures and routines in your class. And one of the things I always say when I'm teaching is there is a way to leave class. If the bell rings, that doesn't mean you can leave class. It means you leave class when the teacher dismisses you. So if the bell rings, you don't just get up and leave. If you need to go get a Kleenex to wipe your nose, there's one finger means I need to go to the bathroom, 2 fingers means I have a question, 3 fingers. And so the students learn this very fast. Even kindergarten, KG students learn this very fast. They know what the procedure is. And I promise you with everything that's within me to say, if your students know well what your procedures are, they will follow. Kids inherently are not bad. They're not bad kids. It's because they don't give good direction. They don't have good direction. So that's the number one thing. And then I've listed 2 resources here that I will only go over briefly. I encourage you to consider both of these. The first one is, if you'll scroll up just a little bit, there we go.
For B, Dr. A, Madeline Hunter. This is the name of a woman, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Madeline Hunter. If you do a Google search for that name, Madeline Hunter, or this practice, instructional theory into practice, or ITIP, ITIP. She is an educator who was head of the Graduate School of Education in University of UCLA, University of California at Los Angeles. And she had 500 graduate students who were getting their graduate degrees in education. And she sent them throughout the United States. And they were each to go into a certain number of schools. And they were supposed to ask the head of the school, the principal or administrator, I would like to visit the classroom of one of your very best teachers. So the idea is, what are the best teachers doing? And as a result of all these 500 students going throughout, she developed this instructional theory into practice. Now, this is free for you on the internet. You can do all kinds of research. I've just listed some of the main things that she is suggesting. Anticipatory set, the word anticipatory is anticipate, to prepare students for the lesson by setting the students' minds for instruction. That's what I did when I wrote on the board. Teachers, before class begins today, here's what. You might, in your biology class, today we're going to talk about the cells. That's all you need to put. Or in an English class, today we're going to study English sentence structure. Just something really brief. So when students come into class, they know what we're going to do today. That's called anticipation. I know now what we're going to do. And then, of course, you have to follow through on that. And then stating this is another Madeline Hunter. And you'll find all of these things if you do research for her. You'll find these for free on the internet. Alert the students to what they will need to do and the purpose of the lesson, how it will help them. So by stating the objective, the reason we're going to learn the anatomy of the stomach or of the chest is because we need to know how this chest works in relation to the other organs of the bottom there of the body, and then uh, you will be able to say, okay, here's the relation. Here's why we're studying this. You want to know how the whole body works? Well, we're going to learn about the chest cavity today because that's in relation. So the objective is to let them know. And then the instructional input. Information is provided so students will be able to achieve the objective. And Samar and I had a little discussion before we began today about the purpose of the textbook. Remember this, the textbook is only a resource to teach the curriculum. It is not the curriculum. And if you're standing in front of your class and you're merely reading from the textbook and saying, okay, turn to page 7. Okay, 7, let's read it together. That is not instruction. That's just rote memorization. And usually it comes from a teacher who's not well prepared. You need to challenge students. You can point to the textbook and say, look there on page 7. That's what I'm talking about. And the student can read page 7 if that's what's necessary. And then, so use this as instructional input. You might have other instructional, you might have a video. You might have an example. You might have a student who experienced this. If you're studying something about cell biology, you might have a student whose father or mother is a doctor and say, hey, Ahmed or Mohammed or whoever, yeah, I know you talked with your father about this. Did he say anything? You see, so what you're doing is that's input. That's information you're giving. Modeling. When the instructor of students demonstrates how to achieve the objectives and provides examples. If you want to write a good paragraph in English, here's what you do. You have to have a good topic sentence. You have to make sure that your thoughts are consistent throughout the paragraph. You need to make sure all the words are spelled correctly and the grammar is used appropriately. You need to have a concluding sentence in the paragraph, either that concludes the thought or leads you into the next one. Now that's what you have to have. Now here's an example of a really well-written paragraph. You see, telling you what it's going to be. Now here's an example. Now students, let's have you write a paragraph. Remember these points we talked about, and I probably didn't include all the essential points of a good paragraph, but you've not only modeled what it should look like, you've described it, and then you've given them an example. That's a model. And by the way, teachers should be models for their students. They should always be the kind of person that you want them to be. And so the next one then is check for understanding. So sometimes you just have to stop and say, okay, we've been talking about this for a little bit now. Let's check to see if you understand what we said. Amira, would you please explain what you think we just said? And boy, do that. And let me give you a clue here I always believed. When you ask a question of a class, you don't say, Ahmed, I'm going to ask you a question. What happens is Ahmed listens to you, but nobody else does.
I give the question to all the classroom.
You put the question to all the, when I'm through with this, I'm going to ask one of you a question. Now everybody listens because you don't know who the teacher's going to ask. So if you're going to check for understanding, be sure. And sometimes I don't call on the person who has his hand raised. I was doing an evaluation at a school once, and the teacher was asking a question, and several people would raise a hand. There was this one girl, young girl sitting in the back. She kept raising her hand to answer every question that was asked. The teacher never called on her, never. And so after the class, I asked the teacher, why didn't you call on that student? And she said, well, she doesn't really understand. I'm afraid she'd give the wrong answer. Hey, that's not good checking for understanding, because what you can do is coach this student. And let me say here also, there are no wrong answers. For those of you who live in Egypt, okay? So if I teaching a class and I say, who would you say is the current president of Egypt? Student jumps up with an answer and says, Morsi. You don't say, no, that's wrong. You say, That's a good answer if I asked the question of who was the president before the current president. In other words, you have to give that student some sense of doing something. And if you have to, with a student who gives the wrong answer, you coach that student until he or she gives the right answer. So you don't say, somebody else, this was wrong, who else? No, you go to that student, say, you're probably thinking that's a good answer to a question if I asked who was the president before the current president. Now, the current president was a general in the Army. Does that help you? You're asking the same student. Student still doesn't think, still doesn't come with it. Okay, the current president, his last name has 4 letters. You see, you're coaching this student to give you the right answer. And then if you have to, you say, it starts with C, and eventually this student will come up with the right answer. And guess who feels successful? That student. I came up with the right answer. So when you're checking for understanding, make sure that you really honor every student. And I love the idea. I'm going to ask somebody in this class, but they don't know who you're going to ask.
That's a very good point you highlighted, Dr. Ray. Here, some teachers say, "Oh no, that's the wrong answer. Big X. Sit down. No. You don't know anything."
There are no wrong answers yet.
Yeah. Yes.
And even if you have to say, could somebody give Ahmed a clue on who the current president of Egypt is? And so, but whatever. That student, Ahmed, is going to come up with the right answer. I'm going to make sure he does, because I'm going to give him all the hints I can to make him feel successful. That's really important. By the way, these are all things that are explained in much greater detail in Madeline Hunter's material. I commend it to you. When I taught at the university, I taught these things backwards and forwards. She's been around a long time. She's been around a long time. She's not one of the current theorists in education, but she's one I really like what she says. She has videos if you want to see those. Guided practice, guide them through the practice. I won't spend any time with this. And then have them do independent practice. This might be homework. Independent practice, able to practice who they learn, what they support, and so forth. Now that is the basically, except for the closure review. At the end of every class, you ought to be closing the review. Remember, students, the bell doesn't dismiss students from class, or the clock doesn't dismiss students from class. The teacher dismisses the students from class. And if the students learn this, they won't be jumping up when the bell rings. They will know only when my teacher tells me I can leave will I leave. So you have to do a closure review. So here's what we've done today. Here's what we tried to learn. I hope that you will practice this and keep this. So anticipatory, do it at the front, and do it at the end so that you tie this all together. Now, the second resource I will suggest to you.
You have a phrase here when you have a plenary at the end of the class. I can't remember it. Tie the bow, yes?
Yeah, we were telling you just tie, you're wrapping a package, and most people who do packages, they tie a string to hold it together. You tie the bow to finish it, to say, this is what we did today, here's what we hope we did, that kind of stuff.
Great.
Now, this next suggestion to you is not free, but if you are interested, there is a wonderful book called The First Days of School by Harry Wong and Rosemary Wong. This is not free. You can buy it on the internet. It's not cheap, but it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And by the way, the question was asked, can you all see this? I don't see myself on here.
Yes, the first days of school, yes.
You don't have to be a new teacher to appreciate this book. I've been a teacher for a long time, and there's still things in this book that really helped me. But it's excellent, excellent suggestions on being a teacher. And so basically it's divided into the successful teacher must know and practice 3 characteristics, have a positive expectation for students. You don't expect students to fail. Everybody's, like I was just talking about a little bit ago, don't let that student stay with the wrong answer and say, sorry, that's wrong, let me ask somebody else. expect that every student you have will succeed. You know, we all require in accreditation, we require schools to give what we call external assessments. And that means that at the end of the year, you give a standardized assessment, not from your school, but from some company that does these. And I've often said that a student who progresses from the 10th to the 20th percentile, 10 points, is far more significant than the student who goes from the 70th to the 80th percentile. That's still just 10 points. But look at what this kid did down here. He doubled his learning. So expect students, and not everybody will get to the 100th percentile. Expect that, but they can certainly feel good about the progress they've made. You have to be an extremely good classroom manager, and you have to learn how to decide lessons for student mastery. And finally, the professional, the teacher who constantly learns and grows and wants to become a professional educator. You've all decided to be on this group of lessons or seminars or whatever, and I admire you for that. This is all part of being a professional educator. You leave your problems at home. You don't worry, or you don't bring to school all the issues you're dealing with, or the fact that you had a fight in your family, or you got upset with another teacher, or your children did something. That professional means on target all the time. When you get home, you can yell and scream and do whatever you want, but you don't do it at school. So be professional, learn as much as you can, keep learning. I have visited thousands of schools, and I can tell you almost every time I go into a school, I find something that I didn't know before. So you keep that attitude. You're going to be professional. You're going to keep learning. I think, Ahmed, that's the ends of the questions that you asked me. So I've seen some of the comments that have come across.
Let us, we will go through the comments and the question, but before we go there, we have some funny questions to be asked to you, Dr. Ray, here. But before also this funny question, we will go through your website to just talk a little bit about accreditation and your company services. Can I share it, or you can share it?
Sure.
Okay. Let me share the screen.
Mr. Ahmed, sorry, because I made some changes. I will share it, okay? I will ask him, so...
you will share the screen of...
the questions, yes.
Not before the question. Before the question, we will talk a little bit about accreditation services.
I thought you mean first questions, then we have about Dr. Ray, yes.
Okay, this is the site of Dr. Ray. He is the founder of this company. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Ray, and tell us something about your services.
This is Array Global Educational Services, and of course, our main objective, or our main activity, is accreditation of schools, and we accredit both national and international / American. We'll accredit any language. Ooh.
Okay, sorry for that. Okay, I don't know who made this. You know, many feel envious, I know, but it's okay. That doesn't matter. Okay, let us share it again. Ms. Summer, could you please check who wrote this, and just please.
I'm gonna kick her out.
Do you know the name of?
No, I shot, so I didn't see the name.
Probably it's
okay.
Sorry for this, Dr. Ray.
It's not for sorry. We are sorry for him to do that.
Yes,
it's his fault. It's his fault. We need to not to mention any kind of sorrow. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Ray.
About what I told about social media, that tells me more about the person who wrote this than it does about the issue between Israel and Palestine. It tells me more about this person, and obviously. So anyway, so what I was talking about, our main objective or our main goal in Array is.
And please, we are recording this, and we will see who made this, and it's okay. We will know that's not sense of any morals. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Ray.
Uh, One of the main goals of accreditation is we accredit schools because we believe that if you have a good school, it will be demonstrated by growth in student performance. You can't say a school is good unless the students are learning better. If you say that you're a car salesman, but you haven't sold any cars, you're not really a car salesman. So if you're saying you're a good school, but students aren't learning at a higher and better level, then you're missing something. And so you need to find out. And we're happy, as I said, we accredit schools in any language. If it's a language we don't speak, we will bring interpreters with us so that, because a good education is a good education, whether you're a national school, an international, an American, a French, a German, Swiss, we've got all kinds. So we do that, and we encourage you.
And you accredit not only schools, Dr. Ray, you accredit
Yes,
also training shops and.
We accredit trades, for instance, trade programs, for instance, the programs where students are preparing after high school. For instance, we have 3 or 4 or 5 teacher preparation schools right now. And we go over their program the same as we would in a KG through 12 school. And we look at all of the curriculum and all the policies, all the procedures, all of the standards, the qualifications of the teachers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we then will accredit that as a post-secondary school. So yes, I would encourage you if you're interested.
You provide workshops for free for teachers also?
Yes, we're doing those on a monthly basis. We just did our last one of the year last Saturday, and they're all on our webpage and our Facebook page. You can go on our Facebook page, arrayglobal.org, and all of the workshops we've done this year, there's about 10 or 12, I believe. You'll find something good in each one. They're free. They don't cost you anything, but I think you would find they would be of great benefit to you. So I just, you know, I'm the executive director of Array Global, and I'm very anxious to help schools and work with schools on how to be better. And we have a very standardized program, but we don't believe that all schools have to look exactly the same. We accept the fact that you're going to come about it in different ways, as long as you can demonstrate that whatever you're doing is improving students.
Okay, I want to thank you a lot, Dr. Ray, for all this information and all this session today. I know you are talking from your heart, and I know this. Okay, Ms. Summer, I think now it's time to have this question for Dr. Ray.
The same word that Dr. Ray was talking from heart.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. We appreciate that.
All who let me say, all teachers who I communicated with and asked about Dr. Ray, he told me that he is a humane. Regarding to any work or any thing, he a man of morals. And thank you, Dr. Ray, again for accepting to be here with this in this meeting. And I hope it will continue another meeting. We will schedule that, and I know you will not تتأخر يعني. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me say the question. Can I start, Ms. Summer, or you can start?
Yes. I'd like to ask Dr. Ray.
Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Ray, if you don't want to answer any of the questions, so it's okay, right? Let's start. Question number 1. How many children do you have?
I have one son. He's a banker, and he's married. We live in Colorado. He moved here several years ago, and he had been after my wife and myself to be nearer them. He has 2 boys and a wife, and I have 1 child. He's, as I said, he's a very successful banker. He's not in education. However, his wife is a teacher. And one son is his senior year in college, and the other son will start his freshman year next year.
I got.
Okay, this
Sorry,
is
Dr.
iPhone.
Ray.
No. I leave it. I leave it just to take its iPhone. Okay, I'll check that.
Report him,
Okay,
please.
okay. Anyone can help to check this, please, to know.
I will report him. I will remove him.
Okay. It says, is it iPhone Hella? I don't think, is it?
No, not Hannah, not Hannah. She is not Hannah. Is
I'm
Ivan, and
sorry.
I reported him. He can't
Yeah.
enter again.
Okay, that's a bad model, a bad example. Okay, never
Yes.
mind. Okay,
And
never mind.
by the way, I want you to
Okay.
know, look, I just want you to know this. I've been in your countries many times. This is not the people I meet. I meet great people and I love to come. I don't meet people who would say something like that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you a
So, yeah,
lot, Dr.
thank
Ray.
you, Dr. Ray. Question number 2: have you ever visited an Arab country?
Well, I'm trying to think if there's an Arab country I haven't visited. Yes, many times.
There's another one. Sarah, please don't write. Yes.
Please, I'll stop sharing. Okay. We can ask him the question.
Okay.
Okay, without sharing. You can stop sharing, Mr.
Okay, so question number 3. Question number 3. 3. Who is your best friend?
Ooh, that's a hard. Of course, my wife. My wife would be. She'd be number one. I have several really good friends who are in the same profession I am. I have one good friend. Maybe my longest standing friend is a medical doctor. We grew up together. When we went to the university, we roomed together, and he became a medical doctor and I became an educator, but we still talk regularly. He lives in Oregon, where we just moved from, but we talk on a regular basis. I've known him more years than most of you people are old.
Good. I like the word when you say my wife.
Yes.
Really amazing, mashallah. Okay. Question number 4. Do you prefer working in schools or an Array Global organization?
Well, Array Global doesn't exist without working in schools. So the answer to the question is, I'm going to work in schools. I'll work in schools, all the time. And I don't have any, I love to go into schools. So, if Array Global didn't exist, which obviously that's the reason I'm here, Array Global didn't exist, I would enjoy working in schools.
Great. Yes, number 5. This one, if you don't want to answer, it's okay. But the question come in my mind: who did you vote for, Trump or Biden?
Yeah, that's what I don't want to answer. And the reason why is because in the United States right now, we are so divided. You either hate Trump and love Biden, or love Biden and hate Trump. There's no middle ground. And it's one of those things, just like we're talking about the issue between the Israelis and the Palestinians.
Yes.
It's, if you're going to have an opinion one way or the other. I would prefer just to let this take care of itself.
Okay. Who is your supporter in your whole life?
Well, my wife, and actually my son, who is a real supporter of mine. I have two friends, in Egypt, and two friends in Saudi Arabia, and one friend in Qatar who are really supporters. They're always trying to encourage me. And so I would say, it's among all those.
Really, you are a good man. So you will meet people who are good also.
Yes, that's an interesting point, Samer. If you have a view that people are going to be good, they will be good. If you have a view that they're going to be bad, they will be bad.
Really,
Sure.
really,
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Okay, thank you a lot, Dr. Ray. Here is the time of the question. If you have a question, Ms. Summer, in the chat box, go ahead and leave that.
Here, people are thanking Dr. Ray. I didn't ask your opinion.
Okay. They can write the question again.
Someone wrote something, but I don't understand. I didn't ask your opinion. Run your own business. I don't know. Okay, now I understood what she meant. It's okay. Dr. Ray, we are very sorry. What's your favorite student? Who is your favorite student? There is a question for you, Dr. Ray. Who is your favorite student?
Well, right now it's Ahmed.
Oh, I'm honored to hear that. Thank you so much.
But I don't, I can't say.
Let me tell my teachers and my friends here how I get to know you. Let me say in Arabic, please. And okay. بالنسبة يعني أنا مدرس إنجليزي عادي. بدأت من فترة قريبة أحاول أسأل يمين وشمال، وفي ناس من هنا أعتقد إن أنا بعت لهم في الصفحات وأسألهم إزاي أشتغل على نفسي وإزاي في اللي رد وفي اللي ما ردش. بحاول زي أي مدرس أشتغل على نفسي في الفور سكيلز. طورت شوية لحد ما الفلونسي، بس لسه مش راضي على نفسي. بنحاول نساعد وبحاول حد يساعدني. أنا مش أحسن من يعني في ناس هنا قمة ما شاء الله عني وافضل مني. يعني حته العمل في مجال التدريس مهم يكون في كوميونتي وناس بتدعم بعض ويبقى سبورتيف لبعض. يعني مش حاجه اسمها ده احسن مني وده احسن مني. كلنا بنحاول وكلنا بنحاول نوصل. وشكرا لكم جزيلا. يعني ده كان معرفه بسيطه بدكتور راي عن طريق منحه اخذتها مع دكتور تامر، ودخلت وقلت له I have a question Dr. Ray if I want to talk to one who is American. Which group can I go to? واتفاجئت ان هو قال لي احمد you can write to me and message me. انا قلت بيتكلم كده وخلاص. بعت له وكتبت لقيته رد عليا وقال لي ممكن اتصل بيك. وصارت من وقتها الكلام ده من حوالي شهر مثلا، صارت الى حد ما الحمد لله الواحد قدر يظبط الصداقه شويه. الموضوع بقى صداقه اكتر ما ان هو بيحاول يحسن نطقي او بيشتغل على بعض الاشياء. فالحمد لله حاول يعني اللي انا اقدر اقوله work hard and you will reach your goal. انا لحد دلوقتي I didn't reach my goal yet. بحاول زي ما واحد احاول وربنا يوفق يا رب الجميع ويوفق كل واحد. وشكرا لمس سمر. يعني هي برضو معرفة برضو بمس سمر الحمد لله. وهنا برضو قدمتني للناس. يعني لولا مس سمر ما كنتش برضو طلعت هنا ولا كنت واحد مغمور عادي ولسه واحد مغمور. يعني انا اسف يعني اللي انا اقول كده. ف دي كانت نقطة بس ايه بداية معرفتي بدكتور راي. Thank you all. Okay, Dr. Ray.
We are all brothers and sisters. ودكتور راي صراحة يعني I see him very helpful. ويعني سألته أنا يمكن أسئلة مثلا how to pronounce well يعني many questions and he answered in a friendly way. بصراحة I loved that I met that person.
Yes. Everyone who wants help from Dr. Ray ما بيتأخرش. He doesn't say no.
Yes,
he is a really helpful.
I'm gonna the link of his page inshallah on Facebook علشان يقدروا ان هم يتابعوه ويشوفوا السيشنز ويحضروها.
Just to follow. I don't know if this will bother Dr. Ray. Okay.
لا انا انا بتكلم على جزئيه معينه مستر احمد. انا بقول على الويب سايت وبتكلم على صفحه الفيسبوك مش صفحته الشخصيه اكيد. يعني we are here for working not to introduce him as a friend for others.
Yeah.
I just typed my email address in the chat box. I think I read somebody I'm not sure if I want to join means they want to join Array Global, but if any of you are interested, please write to me at my email address. I just wrote it in the chat box, rlindley@arrayglobal.org, and I'd be happy to. We have two associate directors, one in Saudi Arabia and one here in the United States, and you'll find them on our website, and any of us will be happy to help you. So I put my address in there. I put my address in there in case you'd like to write something, a personal question to me, or if you want to find more information about your school being accredited by Array Global. We'd love to work with you.
Okay, I think Mr. Muhammad Sabr and Ms. Amira Ashraf have a question. They are raising their hand. I don't, okay, go ahead, Mr. Muhammad Sabr.
Yes, I unmuted them.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Ray. Hi, Mr.
Hello.
Ahmed. Hi, Ms. Summer. How are you doing?
Fine, great.
I just joined like half an hour ago, and I noted that you're asking Dr. Ray a lot of questions. So I'm sorry for being late, but I want to know whether this session was about classroom management or not, because I missed a lot. Did I miss a lot or not?
It's recorded, Mr. Muhammad. We can. It's recorded. Never mind. We talked first about how to prepare a good CV, write a good CV. Then we talked about, I think, interview question, how to be good at your interview, how to prepare before
great.
and while and after the interview. And we talked about classroom management at the end. That's it.
Okay,
yes.
that's
Also,
super.
I put here the YouTube link. You can listen or watch the again after we finish.
Mohammed,
Thank you so much.
Mohammed Sabr in Jeddah?
No, I'm based in Egypt. I work in Egypt right now.
Oh, okay, because Mohammed Sabr, I have a really good friend I haven't talked with for a long time he's Egyptian, but he works at a school in Jeddah, and the name is the same, Mohammed Sabr. That's why I asked.
Yeah, did you know, do you know Mr. Ahmed Ali?
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. Yeah, I attended like a session.
Greatest
To both
educators
of you, yes.
I know.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, that gives you a good recommendation.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for taking a lot of time from your precious one.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the time for. Yeah, I'm gonna make someone else start. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Muhammad.
goodbye.
Thank you a lot. Okay, أعتقد Miss Amira Ashraf, go ahead. Are you there, Miss Amira?
I unmuted Mr. Ismail.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ismail, yes. Miss Amira, okay, until Mr. Ismail will unmute himself. Miss Amira, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Ismail, go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm just very glad to having you this great event that you have really organized. I'm Ismail from Somalia, and I really do appreciate what you have done for us. Really, you've made us just shaped us the way we used to teach it, because now I've learned such great things which actually and can change the attitude of my students and even the teachers around me. Yes. I really thank the teacher, Dr. Array, and you and all the other participants. And my question is, students are not the same. Some students have disabilities or they have dyslexics. So how could I deal to those who have dyslexic or those who have right? So like dyslexic, those who couldn't read and write or difficult to read and write.
Yeah.
You mean dyslexia? You mean?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yes.
Because maybe they study the same class, right?
Couple of suggestions.
Yes.
Number one, if you have somebody in your school, maybe a teacher or a counselor or someone like that who is trained in this area, that's very helpful. But chances are you don't. But what you can do, number one, never ever make a student feel disadvantaged because of his disability. is just learning in a different way, and help him or her to understand that, okay, it's a challenge for me as your teacher. I don't know how to give you the specific help, but I'm going to do some work to see if I can find some suggestions, either from other educators or maybe something on the internet. And let that student know you're doing everything you can, because many times a student who has this kind of disability can operate quite fine if you just understand he's going to learn in a little different way, and make this student feel very important, that he's not a lesser student because he doesn't learn like everybody else. So do all the research that you can if you have a student like that, and don't expect that a student who has a tremendous learning disability, maybe what we call here in the United States special education, which means the student probably has learning that will never reach the level, maybe an IQ score or something. Make that student be successful in the area he can be, but don't expect him to ever get up to the other students. There's a fun program you might enjoy if I say watch American television. There's a fun program that I really enjoy called The Good Doctor. And it's about a young guy who goes through medical school and everything. He has Asperger's.
Is it the Good Doctor? Write it in the chat box.
He has Asperger's, and he reacts differently, but he's a wonderful doctor. Yeah, The Good Doctor. That might be something that will encourage you to say everybody can be successful in his or her own way.
Okay, there are many hands are gonna raise.
I want to answer this question from Sarah. Does classroom management mean controlling our students?
That's a good point. Yeah.
By controlling, you're controlling by having positive expectations. It doesn't mean sit down, be quiet, don't talk, don't listen. It's not that kind of controlling. It's controlling by giving them good examples of what you expect from them. That is controlling, but they understand it as a very positive thing.
Yes, okay. Let's take Amir Ashraf.
I want to thank Mr. Ismail from Somal. وأنا طبعا لا يعني أهلنا بالصومال في لنا متدربين بالصومال يعني دايما بيكونوا موجودين معانا. وشكرا مستر إسماعيل على يعني دخولك اليوم معنا ومداخلتك الجميلة. Thank you.
Okay,
You're really welcome. You're really welcome.
Okay, where did you go, Dr. Ray? Okay, Amira Ashraf, Miss Amira. Are you there, Miss Amira? Ahmed Mustafa, I think, and Maha. Anyone can unmute himself and talk? Yes, Dr. Ray is here. Yeah. Okay.
I love that. Yes. Yes,
Mr. Hani has the question.
Means being creative and let the students expect that is unexpected. Yes, that's classroom management. Manage means to, yes, somewhat control the situation, but you're making it a positive thing rather than negative.
Mr. Yasser, thank you, Mr. Yasser, for this. Yes, one of our friends. Thank you. Yeah, Miss. Oh, yeah. Miss Amira Ashraf. Yeah. Okay.
I'm here. Okay. Hello, Dr. Ray. Do you remember me?
Yes.
Amira Ashraf.
Okay. Yeah, I just called you and you answer me immediately. Okay,
Oh, really?
I just want to ask one question.
By the way,
after Mr. Tamer's decision.
Everybody who works for me, when you get a message, either email or whatever, answer it within 24 hours.
You're answering to the message?
Okay, I just.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one question. I just don't know the difference between CV and resume. I have a CV, but I can't, write a resume. How can I do that? Because actually, I think a resume and CV is
same thing. Just what you call it. Educators usually call it a CV, which means curriculum vitae, but a resume, same thing. Call it what you want.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay, thank you, Ms. Amira. Okay.
Mr. Ahmed Mustafa. I think Mr. Ahmed Mustafa wants to ask.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Ray.
Hey,
Just a question. How to benefit from technology in our classes, and if you are following our education system in Egypt, how do we benefit from what the ministry did in the secondary schools using tablets and following the education on the internet? How do we benefit it? And because we are in a loss here in Egypt, what do you think?
yeah, well,
Thank you.
first of all, the benefit will be up to you. The benefit will be what you decide it to be. We can't, oh, somebody put Bloom's taxonomy. Yes, that's also very good. You can't change what the minister said. We have to live with that. He said, this is what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is try to make it the best possible. Last Saturday, and I would encourage you to look on our Facebook page, the workshop last Saturday was basically on this, ask this question: what have we learned this year, and how can we use what we've learned this year to be better next year? And one of the issues is we have to understand that the role of technology is much bigger than it used to be. We're going to have to depend on this. And so I can't say how will you benefit. I think the benefit will be what you make of it. If you say, oh no, this is awful, I don't like it, I don't want to do it, this is, this isn't unfair to students and all that. I was talking with somebody earlier today who they have a choice on online of giving the students either a pass or a fail. There are no grades, A, B, C, D, or F. Well, that's not really healthy, but that's what the government or the state in which he lives had told him he has to do. So you make the best you can of it. The best is not going to be the best. It's the best in the circumstances. So I say, okay, I don't like it. I don't think it's fair, but it is the law and we have to do it. So I think it's a matter of the attitude you bring into it and saying, okay, I don't like it, but here's what we're going to do.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Yes, I unmuted Maha.
Okay, Maha, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. First, thank you so much for being with us. I see that you have very great experience in the education field. I want yani I'll make a simile that you are like a dictionary. You are so good to have so much experience. I want to ask you one question. Did you write any books about education or in this field that we can read or benefit from it?
Actually, as far as education, no. I'm just finishing, well, I'm not finishing, I'm about halfway through writing a book on how to deal with adolescent teenagers. I'm working on that. I've been working on it for a while. I don't know when I'm going to finish it, but it's tips for people who want to understand adolescents, teenagers. And so that's the only, other than articles I've written for various publications, no, I have not.
Okay, one more question. Actually, I wanna you to recommend me something to read about linguistics and big data, how to link them, if there is a link between them actually.
A link
About
again, please.
I don't understand the
Okay.
question.
Would you please recommend any book that I can read, or any reference that I can read about linguistics?
Not right off. I know there's a book called Grammarly, Grammarly, that you might find to be very helpful. I would say that, again, I find the internet to be very, very helpful. You can find almost everything you would ever want on the internet. If you just do enough searches and narrow your search down, you'll find, and much of the stuff you get off the internet is free. You have to be careful because some of the stuff you get on the internet is not good. But yeah, you have to.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have just two questions, one from Fatma and one from Dalia. And after that, we're gonna end our meeting today in order not to make Dr. Ray feel tired. I think we had a fruitful session and it's recorded really. You can go back to it. Miss Fatma, Miss Dalia, yes. Unmute Miss Dalia, please. Miss Summer, yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yeah, go ahead, Miss
there is a
Dalia.
question that how can I improve my English skills without practicing with people? Dr. Ray answered this question that you have to practice English so that you can improve your English.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
again, by watching American programs, repeat what you hear. You know, if
Yeah.
you hear something said in English, repeat it. Make sure you can say it the way it was said.
Yes. Miss Dalia, okay, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, how are you?
Alaikum
I don't
assalam.
have any question, but just I want to thank you all for this great session. Thank you, Dr. Ray, to be like one of our family. I feel that you are Egyptian like us, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel like
Dr.
I'm
Ahmed.
half Egyptian also.
Yes.
Half
It's
Saudi.
an honor for us to be. And thank you, Mr. Ahmed, for your great effort and your dedication. Thank you, Mrs. Summer. And just I want to thank you. I don't have any question right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia and Miss Dalia. Thank you. Miss Dalia,
Mr. Ahmed, Miss Dalia said
yeah.
something. She said that she felt that Dr. Ray is like Egyptian person. Dr. Ray, do you know any Egyptian words you get from Mr. Ahmed or from Egyptian people?
No, wait a minute. Don't test me on that one. As Ahmed will tell you, I understand more than I speak. I know inshallah, alhamdulillah, I know shukran. I'll come up with a few words like that.
What's your favorite food in Egypt?
I was taught this question.
Food. What food you like?
Oh my goodness.
Kushari.
Well,
Kushari.
what I like best is not food, and I think Ahmed, you know what that is.
Pasta, yes. You like pasta.
Like what?
Pasta.
Pasta. I like pasta, but that's not an Egyptian food.
Okay.
It's macarona in Egypt.
What's that?
Macarona. Pasta means macarona.
Yeah, I like that one. But that's not really Egyptian food.
Okay, Miss Fatma, yes. Miss Fatma, go ahead, yes. Unmute, Miss. Yeah.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. I just want to ask about the cover letter. Yani how to write the cover letter.
We have a session in writing. We have a session in writing.
So this is another session?
Yes, yes.
When
inshallah next week.
It's not gonna be with Dr. Ray. It's
no. With another trainer. It's about speaking.
Yeah. Speaking. No, because the CV and the cover letter usually send it in the same time. That's why I'm asking about Mr. Ray.
Okay, never mind. Could you have something to say about the cover letter, Dr. Ray?
No, the only thing I would say is a cover letter should be very brief. Just address it to the person and say, please find attached my CV or my resume. I'm interested in the position you've advertised for blankety blank, and I will look forward to a time when I can have an interview. I would say, but that might be different than the person who's going to tell you, but that's what I would do.
Okay, thank you a lot. Okay, I think, Ms. Summer, we've came to the end of our meeting today with Dr. Ray. Again, thank you a lot for this fruitful session. Again, you were talking from your heart as usual. Thank you. Okay, you have something to say, Ms. Summer?
Thank you, Dr. Ray. I really appreciate your effort. Thank you for all the information you gave us today.
Ms. Summer, I want to upload the file البرزنتيشن دكتور كان بيتكلم عليها. حاولت من الشات بوكس بس ما عرفتش.
Send it to me. I can upload it. Send it me on WhatsApp, okay? Inshallah, next session will be about speaking. It's not with Dr. Ray, it's another trainer, inshallah. I don't want this session to be ended because I'm really I love to talk to Dr. Ray. Thank you, Dr. Ray.
You're welcome. I told you my best friend was my wife. She just brought me a sandwich and a glass of ice water.
You said before you like.
Yes, we say here in Arabic, we say صحة. صحة.
صحة وعافية. Bon appetit. Bon appetit. Okay. Just leave me a bite, okay?
Yes. Until this, I want you to write anything you want to Dr. Ray, not questions, like thanking him. I know that words will not give him his what he deserves, but yes, thanks a million, Dr. Ray.
Thank you, Ms. Fatma.
Welcome, and feel free to write any questions to me on my email. Don't put them in this chat box because this
amazing session.
The session.
Thank you all. Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Summer, you can end the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, Dr. Ray. Thank you all for attending with us. Bye. See you.